What is going on, everybody? So I figured I would make this while I'm working on it. This is the Trans Am that I'm working on, atypical GM paint. And as we can see here, let me get my scan grip. GM paint, really fucked up, really messed up. This is 20-year-old paint. And I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to take you through how I do a correction, and not just any correction. This is supposed to be like the highest level that I offer. So what I typically do is I two-step, three-step, whatever, the wing, get it as perfect as I can with polishing, and then I go back with sandpaper and hit the deeper defects if they are deemed to be removable by sanding. So I'm just going to take you through the process of doing this wing. I've already done a section here just cutting with a specific polish, and then this is of course untouched. So here in my hand I have two different compounds, one being extremely aggressive, one being mildly aggressive, but yet still effective on extremely heavy defects. I'm going to stick to M110. I know I had it labeled, but the permanent marker has kind of worn off. So hopefully you could see what I'm doing here, and the way that this works is you're not going to use 1 or 2 drops. You're going to use a good amount. I typically just put a line in the area that I'm working, kind of like that. And here we have our Rupes 15 Mark II, and we just have the regular 15 millimeter, or sorry, the 5-inch backing plate. I've seen some people throw the bigger backing plate on here, not sure why, but this is the Lake Country foamed, purple foamed wool pad. Obviously it's been used. I just blew it out, and make sure you do blow your pads out very frequently. It just helps with the job, keeps everything cleaner, and the pad operates more smoothly. So what we're gonna do is kind of work in a 1 foot by 1 foot section, and you're gonna go pretty slow. The slower the better, and you're going to use probably about medium pressure. I keep it on 6, you can put it on 5, it doesn't really matter. I'm just like a full throttle kind of guy, so here we go. Alright, so 2 passes. The product is super easy to remove. I've never had really any difficulty removing Meguiar's polishes ever. And it looks as if we've removed about 85% of the defects. Now, there's nothing wrong with making another pass over the section. Everybody seems to think that compounds should work you know, in their first application, and anybody who says that is just dead flat wrong. Now, there are some defects that aren't going to come out with compounding. You could sit there and hammer at them with a polisher all you want, but it's just going to take you long as hell. And it's honestly more beneficial to just identify your deep scratches. And the best way to do that actually is to polish the section, and it actually highlights the scratches that won't come out. I can see a couple. There's one here, a couple there. But I'm going to go ahead and polish from here to here since I've already cut this. This is Fixer, Carpro Fixer. Pretty hard cutting compound. but well, medium cutting compound, but it does break down quite well. This is a DAT. This is not a SMAT type polish. One straight line across the pad. This is a Lake Country black finishing pad. It's not an HDO or Force. It's the, I think it's just the basic one. Speed 5 or 4, whatever you want to do. Make about 3 passes over the area. All right, so once you make about 2 to 3 passes, usually fixer breaks down quite easily, easy to wipe off, doesn't streak. Sometimes in high humidity, it can be a little bit of a bitch. So, as you can see, it looks really, really good. I mean, to my eye, it looks fantastic. And that's pretty close to a finishing step. Of course, that's not a finishing step. Let's see. Get 2 different types of lights here. Focus light and a scan grip. So when working on darker paints, the blue, I don't know what temperature it is, I think it's 5500K. The blue color, it's always best. You see more defects. So I don't see any micro marring. Machine swirling, maybe a little bit. We've got a deep defect right here. Right? I just scratched it doing that with my glove. And if we come over here as a comparison, I don't know how well the GoPro's picking that up. But you can see how fucked up the paint is. It's just really, really bad. And you come over here, and it looks really, really good. Now, a lot of people are saying, oh man, you know, I always have a hard time with GM paint because it doesn't finish down the way that I want it to, and it takes forever. Well, I just cut it with a hard cutting compound and basically finished it with a medium cutting compound. So if the paint was soft, realistically, the paint would still have micro marring in it, but it doesn't. And that's because the paint isn't soft. I've worked on a lot of GMs, and a lot of people seem to think that the paint is soft, and it's not. It's not hard, it's not soft, it's a medium solid, and it's flexible paint. The idea that it is flexible makes it very hard to correct. This is what I was told by a professional, somebody who is a big-time guy in the detailing world. Everybody knows him, and this is what I was told at a training seminar years ago, that the paint is actually not soft, it's flexible. And I believe him. I actually believe him by just experience and going through probably at least 100 GM vehicles in the last 3 years. So just for the fuck of it, I'm gonna use hyper compound on this section here. All it's gonna take, honestly, is 2 little dots of this stuff. This stuff is vicious, and you'll see how much it mars the paint. So we're gonna work from here to here. Okay. So that small application removed a pretty sizable amount of defects, but we're gonna put a little bit more, a lot more on there, and we're gonna hit it again.
That the brothers on the rise now. Endless celebrations all in my house. Levitating now, I'm super duper fly
So as you can see, a notable difference in finishing quality between M110 and Hyper Compound. Now there are some really deep gouges here that may not even be sandable. One cool thing I want to show you guys, I'll bring the camera up here, is I actually got my Snap-on box here finally. This was my father's Snap-on box. He bought it in 1978, I believe, and that was the bottom box. The top box I think he got in the 90s. I can't really remember if he got them together or if he got them separately. But I've gone through and I've cleaned the whole thing, and I've got basically all my tools in here from my my mechanic days. But it's good to finally have this box here, because this box is responsible for my entire education as a child into cars. This box symbolizes everything from my dad working on his Corvette, working on his Bronco, working on the backhoe, like from detailing, like this box contained everything that taught me how to be a good, well-rounded technician with everything. My dad taught me a lot. He didn't really teach me much about detailing. He taught me some things. It was more so with boats than it was cars. But as far as mechanical stuff goes, this box is the symbol of my success. And it's really good to finally have this thing here in the shop. It was at my mother's house for a while, and I just didn't have the room to bring it to my house. And I said, well, you know what, why don't I just bring it to the shop and do away with the US General box, which has become a shelf for random stuff and car parts from the engine I'm building. And I think I'm going to turn this into like the engine part cart kind of a thing. And this will be my, you know, I've got my Rupes polishers down here. They all fit in here nicely. And, you know, I don't have to hang them up anywhere. I've got my impact drawer that we've already seen, you know, so it's nice to have this kind of tool storage. And I didn't obviously have to pay for it, but you know, it's literally a 41-year-old Snap-on box, and it operates like the day he bought it. I lubricated all the tracks. I mean, such a nice box. I'm so happy to finally get that here. So I'd like to thank you guys for taking the time to watch me show you here how I do correction on GM black cars, or just GM cars in general. But it also is much more than that. It's just correction in general and what it means to a technician like myself, and it kind of helps the customer understand what we are doing versus the cheaper detail shops down the road. Just tune in every week or so for new videos. I'm going to try and come out with more content as far as detailing and other things go.